You wake up every single day and say thank you. You do everything the gurus taught you to do. And still, nothing changes. Gratitude does not create abundance. It only confirms who you already are on the inside. Today you are going to understand what needs to change before gratitude can actually work. But before we get into this, let me ask you something quick. Hit subscribe right here on the channel. Because every week we talk about identity, internal patterns, and what really blocks abundance, in a way nobody else explains it. And drop a like, because as that helps this video reach more people who are also giving thanks every day without seeing any results. Some people wake up every single day and say thank you. They are grateful for their health, for their home, for the chance to have one more day. They do it with discipline, exactly the way the gurus taught them to. And still they get out of bed and walk straight into the same old anxiety. The bill that is due. The paycheck that never stretches far enough. That feeling that the month never really adds up. This is not a lack of faith. This is someone genuinely trying. Repeating gratitude statements, writing that list of good things, trying to keep a positive mindset all day long. And yet their financial life keeps delivering the exact same result, month after month, year after year. The strange part is that, according to everything that gets taught out there, this should have already worked. Gratitude is almost universally agreed upon among people who talk about manifestation. Every guru, every book, every video recommends the same thing. And this person did it. They followed the steps exactly. Except abundance never showed up the way it was promised. Something is missing from this equation. And right now, we cannot quite say what that is. Maybe the problem was never gratitude itself. Maybe the problem is who you keep being while you are saying thank you. The way most people learned to practice gratitude looks right. You wake up, you give thanks, you feel a quick wave of relief, and you go on with your day. On paper, everything checks out. In practice, this might be keeping you exactly where you already were. Because there is a way of saying thank you that, deep down, is really just a request in disguise. You say, thank you for everything I have, but what you actually feel is, I wonder if this is going to work this time. The mouth gives thanks. The mind stays on alert, calculating, hoping, waiting for confirmation that it was all worth trying. That is different from giving thanks from a place that already belongs. Notice how many people celebrate what they have, the job, the home, the relationship, and in the very same breath, talk about money as if it is never enough. Thank God I managed to pay everything this month, followed by, but the whole month stays tight. There is no judgment in that contradiction. It is just extremely common. The mistake is not giving thanks too little or saying it the wrong way. The mistake is in the place that gratitude is coming from. You can repeat the exact right practice every single day and still be negotiating with your life on the inside. Gratitude without identity becomes an attempt. Gratitude with identity becomes a confirmation. And almost nobody teaches you the difference between the two. But why does your internal system treat these two forms of gratitude as if they were the same thing? Why do you repeat this so often and still end up acting, deciding, and reacting like your old self? The answer explains almost everything that has happened so far. Your internal system does not learn from a nice sentence said once. It learns from what gets repeated with emotion. Whatever repeats with emotional weight becomes familiar. And whatever is familiar, the system treats as true, no matter if that truth is hurting you or holding you back. Think of a train track. You can decide today that the destination has changed. You can say it out loud, write it down, give thanks as if you have already arrived. But if the track underneath the train is still the same one, built over years of a scarcity identity, the train slides right back onto its usual path. The intention changes the destination on paper. The track is what actually decides where the train goes. And what really reveals your track is not what you say while giving thanks in the morning. It is what you do for the rest of the day. The financial decision made out of fear. The opportunity turned down because now is not the right time. The way you react when an unexpected bill shows up. That is the real verdict on your identity. Far more than any sentence repeated with your eyes closed. The more emotion you put into something, the faster it becomes normal for you, for better or for worse. It is not the sentence that matters most. It is the repeated emotion behind it. You do not change your life by repeating gratitude to try to convince reality. You change when your identity changes, and gratitude stops being a performance and becomes a state. If the problem was always the identity and not the practice itself, there is one piece that completely changes this game. And this is exactly where most people get stuck. They know they need to switch tracks, but they have no idea how to get off the autopilot that has been repeating for years. That is why I put together an ebook with a direct path to stop trying in the dark and actually know what to do to change your identity for good. It's the same way I had to learn it myself, inside this exact same cycle. If you have already understood the problem and want a more structured path, the link is in the description. But coming back to this, because understanding the track is only the first step. So here is the missing piece, and it completely changes the way you are going to see everything you have heard so far in this video. Gratitude should not be used as a tool to try to create an abundant identity. It should be born from an identity that is already abundant. Notice the difference. Most people learn to give thanks in order to become. They give thanks today hoping that, repeated enough, it will eventually turn them into someone else. That is the exact opposite of what actually works. The right path is to become, and then give thanks for real. First, the identity changes, and gratitude comes after, as a natural consequence, not as an isolated trigger trying to push reality forward. A person who already sees themselves as abundant does not give thanks to try to become abundant. They give thanks because they have already stopped seeing themselves as lacking, and that completely changes the function of the practice. It stops being a request and becomes recognition. Think about someone who receives an unexpected business opportunity. Someone still carrying a scarcity identity feels fear first. What if I cannot handle it? What if this does not work out? Someone who has already changed identity feels something else. They recognize the opportunity as something natural, something that lines up with who they are now, and they act without the weight of fear. It is the new identity that changes the kind of thought that enters your mind first, the decision that follows when you act, and the reaction you have toward money. This is not forced optimism. It is a different starting point, one that no longer treats abundance as something distant, waiting for permission to arrive. Gratitude, in this second case, becomes a language of recognition, not of lack. The practice becomes alignment with who you have already decided to be, not a request in disguise from someone who still feels like they owe life something. It is not give thanks in order to become. It is become, and then give thanks for real. And that changes everything you have felt up to this point in this video. But understanding this shift is different from knowing how to apply it in your daily life. So let us get into what actually changes, starting tomorrow morning. The first step is not opening your mouth to say thank you. It is claiming before that the identity behind the gratitude. Before you say thank you, decide internally who you are in this moment. Someone who already has access, who is already in motion, who no longer depends on scraps. This is the step almost everyone skips. And here is the real test. Notice if your words, your decisions, and your behavior throughout the day already match this new version of you. A simple example, an unexpected expense comes up. The old version reacts with panic, recalculates everything, feels the floor disappear. The new version handles it, adjusts course, and keeps going, without turning something already solvable into a drama. Give thanks for what already exists, without using gratitude to reinforce the story of lack. Notice the difference from the mistake we saw earlier. Here you are not giving thanks while hoping. You are giving thanks while acknowledging, recognizing what is already yours, without the tone of someone begging for more. And let this practice become a routine, not a one-time event. One coherent day does not change anything on its own. It is the repetition of it, day after day, that confirms to your internal system that this new identity is, in fact, who you are now. The right practice is not just feeling gratitude. It is feeling it from a place that has already changed, and that is a choice you make before you ever open your mouth to say thank you. But applying this is going to create change, just maybe not in the way or at the speed you are expecting. Before you go out there applying this and expecting to see new money in your account tomorrow, I need to prepare you for the reality of this process. Your old mind is not going to leave quietly. It is going to whisper doubt and try to pull you back into the old way of thinking about money, especially in the first few days. That is normal. It is not a sign that something is going wrong. The first real signs of progress tend to be subtle. Less anxiety when a bill arrives, more clarity when making a decision, less of an urge to complain about your finances to other people. None of that shows up in your bank statement yet, but it is already real change happening on the inside. External results, most of the time, follow a sustained internal change, not a single ritual done once and forgotten. I am not going to promise you a number of days because every single person unlocks this process differently. The first sign of change is not extra money in your account. It is stillness in your internal system, and that usually arrives first. But even understanding the process, there are common mistakes that trip up people who are already on the right path. Even with all of this understood, there are a few slip-ups that pull people right back into the gratitude performance without them realizing it. I have fallen into one of these myself, so this is not judgment. It is a warning from someone who has already tripped over this. Some people say they are abundant and then panic at the first sign of trouble. They say, "I am already abundant," then get a late bill and fall apart as if the world is ending. If the reaction is still panic, the identity has not actually changed, only the words have. There is also the person who fakes a feeling that has not actually been built yet, just to look like it is working. That is different from genuine faith. Genuine faith admits it is still in process. Faking it pretends it has already arrived, and that stalls the process instead of helping it. And there is a third slip-up, a quieter one. Using the practice to escape reality instead of reorganizing your relationship with it. Spending out of desperation in the morning and giving thanks at night as if nothing happened is not alignment, it is dissociation wearing spiritual clothing. But the most subtle one of all is confusing real peace with emotional numbness. Real peace looks the problem straight in the eye and responds with clarity. Numbness simply avoids feeling the discomfort and calls that being above it all, practicing gratitude, is not enough. You also have to stop practicing it while still living as someone who is lacking. Once you avoid these mistakes, there is only one thing left, a simple, clear starting point to actually begin. I am not going to leave you with just the theory. Let us close this out with one real step. Size to fit into your day-to-day. Choose one specific identity to hold on to for the next few days, not some vague version of being abundant that does not mean anything in practice. Think of something concrete. I am someone who makes financial decisions calmly. Or I am someone who already handles things instead of panicking. The more specific it is, the easier it becomes to notice whether you are holding on to it or not. From that identity, give thanks, not before it. That is the order we covered earlier, and it matters more than it seems. Throughout the day, notice if your words, your decisions, and your reactions match this version of you. Use your everyday life as a laboratory. Repeat this for a few days before demanding any outside proof of results. The outside proof comes later, not first. Starting does not mean repeating a gratitude statement tomorrow morning. It means taking on a new way of existing and letting gratitude confirm it. You came into this video frustrated, doing everything right and still not seeing results. You are leaving it knowing exactly what was missing, with one real next step to put into practice today. You stayed until this point, and that already says something about you. Most people give up halfway through and go look for another video. You stayed, and you understood something most people never truly grasp. Gratitude does not create abundance. It confirms who you have already decided to be. The ebook goes further than what we could cover here. I built that material around exactly this point. The moment when the old mind pulls you back and most people quit without realizing they were almost there. If you want a more structured path through this stage, the link is in the description. Now tell me in the comments, which specific identity are you going to hold on to this week? Write it down below. I read every single one. And subscribe to the channel because every week we talk about identity, internal patterns, and abundance in a way nobody else explains it. If you know someone who gives thanks every day and still feels like something is missing, send them this video. Sometimes the missing piece is just one idea arriving at the right moment. I will see you in the next one.